Welcome to the Heal Strong podcast with me, Namita Purohit. As a leadership and life coach, I am dedicated to guiding my clients and students become their best selves and live their life at their fullest potential. This podcast is proudly sponsored by the Heal Strong program. It is my signature program that helps victims make a complete recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. The program includes a course roadmap, coaches, and community to help you rise back to your healed and whole self. In today's podcast, I'm going to share with you a story of a victim of narcissistic abuse and how it created multiple health complications and even terminal disease in her body. I will also talk about the how of how narcissistic abuse leads to diseases in your body from an energetic chakra perspective and a scientific perspective, quoting different research and scientific studies. I will discuss the various solutions I use in my Heal Strong program to help victims heal and what science has to say about it and what can you do to help yourself. So let's talk about Anna today. This topic reminded me of the story that I had read about Anna a few years ago. And this was a lady in her mid-40s, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer, 2 lumps in her breast. And while she had inherited the cancer gene from her father, her other siblings who had inherited the same gene did not have cancer. So hereditary alone does not predispose someone to the cancer. Now Anna, after going through everything that she'd gone through and while she was in her cancer treatments, she was convinced that stress was instrumental in the development of her cancer. Her first husband, he was a businessman, and he mistreated her emotionally throughout her marriage. She was treated very badly, with no sense of agency. She was an object. She allowed herself to be used as an object with no value to her personhood, no value to her needs and feelings. And she continued supporting her husband in everything that he did, even when he abused her so badly. And she used none of the agency that she had in herself to protect herself, to differentiate herself from her husband, to have her own identity, and to protect herself. And she was also being physically abused. And by the time the relationship ended, as I said, she was also being physically abused and then she got married again. And then the second husband had various health issues, who was also very abusive, but, she was helping him with his health issues. And every time she would go to the hospital, take care of him. And then, all of that would cause her to be she had to be really strong because he was going through some really difficult terminal treatments. And she had to rush into the hospital multiple times, bring back home, care for him at home and do various things. And by the time he died, and she also got cancer. And as she was going through all the treatments, etc., she had this realization, and she said that if you ask me why I got cancer, I would tell you it's because I allowed myself to be so destroyed in that marriage, in her first marriage and second one. And she said, I was this close to suicide more times than I can remember. I didn't have enough self-respect. And I was always thinking, am I good enough? Could you love me yet? What more can I do to get your love and attention and your loving words towards me? And she felt that she had married her mom, who was also, a narcissistic person. And he was exactly like her mother, her first husband. And with her mother, she felt she was never good enough. And that's what repeated. And now when she looks back, going through all of these treatments and trying to fight for her life, she's got some time off. She's tried to heal herself, work on herself and things like that. But already a lot of damage has been done because the cancer is spreading to, she's had a double mastectomy and various other things that I'm going to talk about. And then she asked herself this question that how could I have stayed in such a marriage? And she's cried over it a lot, with her coach. But she said, how could I have done that to my soul? Dishonored myself so badly, allowed myself to be dishonored so badly, mistreated so badly. And how could I have done that? And how could I hurt myself, allow myself to be hurt so badly and allow the essence of who I am, my identity, my personhood to be hurt so badly. And she thinks that, her hurting her identity and her hurting her sense of self, allowing all of that to happen, not protecting herself, that ended up hurting her body too. And that was a realization she had on her own. And as we go through this podcast, I'm also going to talk about scientific studies that support this thing. And then she realized that at the end of all of it, by constantly giving herself away, she had not just chipped away parts of her personality, but it was parts of her body that she had given away that was becoming dysfunctional, with so many aches and pains. And she was taking 8 prescription drugs for depression, anxiety, insomnia, aches and pains, bowel problems, and her breast cancer. And she was like, it was either die or get out. And at that point, that's when self-preservation kicked in for her, and she decided to get help for herself. And what various doctors and various studies have confirmed, and Dr. Gabor Mate, who's done phenomenal work as a physician and a psychiatrist in helping people, is that he came to this conclusion that he said that she fits the pattern of unrealistic, self-sacrificing behaviors. And this was noted in a 1958 psychoanalytic study of breast cancer patients. And this was a person with unrealistic self-sacrificing behavior, where she had completely sacrificed her sense of self to the narcissist, to all the different people in her lives. And it ended her, because she sacrificed herself, her sense of self, she also sacrificed her body. And that's what happened. All the bad health and all the cancer kicked in. And the study supports that. Now, the story doesn't end here, right? About her self-sacrificing behavior. She was the only among 4 siblings to take responsibility of her father in his early 80s. So her father had gone through various health-related difficulties himself, and he was admitted to a hospital, and it was best for him to transfer to an old age home so that he would get the care he needed, because the other siblings refused to care for him, and Anna herself was struggling while dealing with her cancer, while dealing with her, health issues, while dealing with her all these different prescription drugs, and being completely not just broken in the body, but broken in her own self, having given away herself to the abuse. It was extremely impossible for her to take care of her aging father. And she requested him that once you're discharged from the hospital, how about, I arrange a care facility for you? And he refused. He said, no, you should take care of me because I don't want to stay in that facility. You should take care of me. I'm not going to stay in that facility. And she relented. And he refused to be in that facility. And she, out of compassion for him, continued caring for him, taking care of him while in the middle of her chemotherapy sessions. And none of the siblings took responsibility. She would drive herself to the chemotherapy session. She would get the chemotherapy, come back home and, be dealing with all of that. And then she had lost a lot of hair. And then her father would come home sometimes because the other siblings would not take responsibility for giving him dinner when she was out getting her treatment. And he would be like, oh, I'm hungry. Why don't you give me food? And you look horrible. Why don't you go and wear your wig? And she's like, Dad, I've just come from my chemotherapy appointment. I'm completely knocked out, and that's why I'm looking like hell. And I'm really sorry, but I'm not in a position to cook any meal for you. And he would just be like, why not? Give me the food, right? And this is a woman who's, had both her breasts removed to protect herself from cancer. And this would happen. And her other siblings just refused to do anything for him because of whatever reasons. And her younger brother, instead of calling her up and asking her, how is her health and what is she doing? How is she doing? And does she need any help? He would call her up and talk about his girlfriend issues or his wife issues. And he would, and he was a patient of depression himself. And, whenever he would reach a point where he couldn't handle his own life, then he would pick up the phone and his own children would say that, oh, now he's going to call Aunt Anna. And she had almost been like a mother to him and a mother to her dad. And, she just wasn't a mother to her own self. And it is noted that adults with a history of, even troubled childhoods which she had with her father and mother, because her mother was narcissistic and her father was emotionally unavailable for the kids. He was busy with his own life and his own affairs and things like that. To the extent that even at the age of 80, he was talking about his sex life with Anna and telling her that, my girlfriend refuses to have sex with me. And she's like internally feeling that's inappropriate. Why are you talking to me about it? Why is nobody asking me how am I coping with my disease and my health? And, why aren't you offering me that dad support that I need right now? Right? So not only she had a troubled childhood, but she also had a troubled history of in her adulthood. And now, because of which she had greater susceptibility to the narcissistic abuse. But more important than that is that not everyone who's had a troubled childhood is going to become more susceptible to narcissistic abuse, because the same, stress does not occur in a vacuum, and the same external event will have a very different physiological impact depending on who is experiencing it, right? An example, the death of a family member is processed very differently by someone who is emotionally well integrated versus and in a supportive relationship than, by a person who is alone, or like Anna was prior to her therapy, her coaching. She was tormented by chronic guilt due to her conditioning that I must be perfect, and to get love, I must be constantly serving people. And that's the only way. If I just perfectly and constantly keep serving people, someday they will notice me and someday they will give me some love. And that's not how love works, but that was her mindset. Now, what was happening to Anna energetically and physically, right? Repeatedly, abandoning herself, allowing herself to be abandoned, repeatedly living in this guilt and that I must serve everyone. And if I'm not, then something's wrong with me. And that's the only way to get people's love and attention. Repeatedly, and what happens to a lot of people in narcissistic abuse is repeatedly living with the gaslighting, the games that they play. They're pushing you away. They're enjoying you being in anxiety and stress. And their crazy-making behavior where you lose your sense of bearings, and you become weaker, gives them a greater control over you. They're enjoying all of that, creating anxiety in you, making you brokenhearted. And even when you're crying your eyes out for days and days and days, it actually makes them feel powerful. It doesn't evoke their compassion, but it actually makes them feel powerful. And you're losing your center and confidence over and over again because of this. And it can make you physically sick, like in Anna's case. And many, many other cases. Now, what's happening at the chakra level is your sense of stability and security is lost, or it's already weak, and then it goes, gets, even more weak. And that affects your root chakra. Your root chakra doesn't perform itself very well. And then that causes you to further lose your sense of stability and security. And that's what the root chakra is responsible for. And that, and creates anxiety in your life. And then also the physical areas of your body that the root chakra is responsible for, which is your strength in your legs, your bone structure, your blood circulation, your skin, your hair. A lot of this, a lot of reasons a lot of people lose hair. And I would like to also say that all of these things, it's not that only women get abused by narcissists. Men also have the same symptoms. And the same effects if they carry the same, if they don't work on their mindset and don't find a way to work on their mindset to find a release from that situation. And a lot of people think that the solution is divorcing, separating, and things like that. Well, I beg to differ, because you may do that. And if you still carry the same pattern as Anna did, you're going to attract the same people in your life over and over again. So while you may decide to do what you want to do at a physical level, whether you want to be with them, not be with them. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point is you need to find inner freedom from them, right? And when the sense of stability and security is lost, the root chakra is affected, and the bone structure and balance and so many things are affected. The sense of personal power and confidence is lost. The solar plexus is weakened. When your solar plexus is weakened, it's like around your diaphragm area, rib cage just below that. Your digestion system is affected. Your bowel movements are affected. Ulcers in your stomach, ulcers in your lining, colon cancer. I mean, a lot of things can happen with that. Your heart chakra is affected because of repeatedly not getting the love, not getting the loving relationship that you're looking for, and repeated wounding to your wholeness. And that affects your circulation, that affects your breath, and the oxygen levels in your body are reduced, and that leads to a lot of other diseases when your lungs and your heart are not properly functioning. Your throat chakra is closed because after a lot of gaslighting, a lot of invalidating, you have lost confidence in whatever you're saying, because whatever you say, you get gaslighted to it. And you're repeatedly, because you're repeatedly told that you're saying the wrong thing, you don't know how to have relationships, you keep arguing, you just lose sense of your own communication skills and your own ability to know what is right and wrong and what, be coherent. And that affects your root chakra, and that further affects your communication, further affects your creativity and your strength and your wisdom. And diseases around swallowing, diseases around balancing. With the solar plexus, the heart chakra, the throat chakra affected, a lot of slip disc issues can happen because these chakras can cause bulging in your disc when they themselves are, affected. And when your chakras are not working properly, your entire prana distribution in your body, the intelligent energy that needs to flow through your body to make your body work properly, is affected. Your sense of balance, your sense of movement is affected. Double vision can kick in. And so many things can happen. Now, what happens is that there is a lot of past trauma and emotional memories that are trapped in the body because of all of these different incidents. Like when you you're not emotionally well integrated and you don't know how to express yourself, or you just suppress those emotions. What happens is that the anger that you should have felt in those or expressed in those moments, you're not expressing yourself, you're not standing up for yourself, you're not setting boundaries. What happens is that all of that energy of what should have happened externally gets internalized in your body. There's a lot of anger energy in the body and a lot of grief energy, fear energy in the body that goes and sits inside of all of these chakras, and therefore these chakras are affected. And in the Heal Strong program, we help our clients when they come to us. One of the things that we do is also work with them energetically. We help them release all of these different things from their body. And, all of these different things that I talked about that are trapped in the chakras and different organs in the body through memories. And through the work that we do in helping them work on their mindset, a part of the mindset is it's like a logical reasoning and helping them edit their thoughts. But part of it is also energetic releases of all of this from the body. And I've seen clients with improved digestion, improved movements, improved stability, reduced brain fog, reduced anxiety, reduced depression, and so many other diseases, and their whole expression of their own personhood and the achievement of their goals. And along with, the releases that we do, we also have, I also have a 7 chakra healing bracelet that you could wear and start your healing process, at least at the physical, energetic level. And consider joining the Heal Strong program to start working on your mental level also, because if you just keep healing your chakras, but if you keep carrying the same mindset, your chakras keep getting dirty, right? So we also need to work on setting our boundaries, releasing our anger, stop feeling guilty, stop being in that self-service mode, honoring ourselves and things like that. And all that needs to happen too. Just wearing the bracelet is not a magic fix, and just doing the mental work is not the magical fix. Both need to happen in tandem. So you could get the chakra bracelet and start feeling. A lot of my clients have started feeling a sense of calm and peace and a lot of healing in their body with that bracelet. And you have the link in the description below. Now, when all of these things are not healed, when the mindset has not been worked upon, which is the susceptibility to the narcissist, and the energetic releases have not happened, it increases one's susceptibilities to multiple sclerosis, cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, and many other diseases, as we saw in Anna's case. Now, having said that, I'm not saying that you are to blame for being abused by the narcissist. No, you deserve all the love and you deserve all the compassion. You deserve all the wholeness of life in spite of your vulnerabilities. But the way out of that is, and the narcissist shouldn't have treated you this way, but the only way out is to work on yourself and work on your healing. They are not going to change. They are just going to continue being who they are. And there is no way to reason with them. I know a lot of clients come to us and tell us that, okay, can I use these, whatever you're teaching me, and heal the narcissist? And I'm like, no, don't even waste your energy. Focus on yourself, focus on reclaiming your own self and working on yourself. And again, so no way blaming you for your situation, but really that's the only way out. And out of that situation and out of damaging your body. And I say this with compassion. Now, when the clients go through this work with the Heal Strong program and they work on their mindset, right, at the physical level, at the energetic level, at the emotional and intellectual level, and the spiritual level, we work at these 5 levels with our clients. They are able to find release from all of these things, and they also reduce their susceptibility to the multiple sclerosis, the cancers, the rheumatoid arthritis, and various other diseases that could have happened before it gets too late. Now, these people have worked on themselves, so they reduce their susceptibility. But on the other hand, we also have people who come to us when it's too late, when they've lost their health, they're already suffering with some of these diseases, and they're in great pain, emotional pain and physical pain, and then they have lost complete agency in their lives. And when they become useless like that in the narcissist's world, the narcissist leaves them because they're not useful to them anymore. And I've seen so many people of victims of narcissistic abuse who gave their lives in serving the narcissist. They lost themselves like Anna did. They lost their health like Anna did. And then they were no longer a supplier. They were no longer useful to the narcissist, and the narcissist left them to find another supply for themselves. So it's really not worth it. And it's important that you invest in yourself and work on yourself before it's too late, yes, to fix your own health and mindset in your body and all the potential that you have. Now, regarding multiple sclerosis, many students of this disease, who have studied this disease and who have dealt with patients like that. I also met a rheumatologist who was sharing this with me about other autoimmune disorders. And she said that she sees patients day in and day out to help them recover and heal. And she said that we can do whatever we can do with the medications and help them with the treatments, but unless their mindset changes, they just keep having the relapse over and over again. And many times, and she said almost every time, it's because of some hardships they're having in their relationships at home. And students, who are studying this, and there was a research in 1970, and it said that this emotional stress is a great factor of multiple sclerosis. Sclerosis in Greek is hardening, and it creates hardening of certain, I think it creates lesions in certain parts of your brain, and it causes difficulty in your movements. And it could be and what has been noticed is when there is an excessive emotional attachment with somebody, a lack of psychological independence, an overwhelming need for love and affection from the outside, feeling unlovable on the inside, and the inability to feel and express anger. Like I've done another podcast on why the victims of narcissistic abuse need to feel their anger very deeply and release it. Otherwise, you're susceptible to disease, right? And when people are inability to feel and express their anger, and many medical observers have identified these as possible factors for the natural development of multiple sclerosis. And a study in 1958 found that in nearly 90% of the cases of multiple sclerosis, before the onset of symptoms, patients experienced extremely traumatic life situations like Anna did that threatened their security system. Now, cancer, breast cancer, another 1952 psychoanalytic evaluation of women with breast cancer came to similar conclusions. And by the way, this applies to men also. And these patients who had that breast cancer, they had an inability to discharge or deal appropriately with anger, aggressiveness, or hostility. And they continued to mask it, even if the hostility was masked with the facade of pleasantness, but these people didn't know how to set those boundaries, didn't know how to handle it, didn't know how to protect themselves, and they allowed their self to be given away to these people. And then they felt that these unresolved conflicts, internal conflicts which were internalized by these patients who didn't know how to express themselves, didn't use their own agency to stand up for themselves, it manifested through denial and unrealistic self-sacrificing behaviors, right? And most of these breast cancer patients, 90% of them, this was the pattern that was seen. And this research, which was concluded by Dr. Sandra Levy and her associates at the U.S. National Cancer Institute, saw the relationship between natural killer cell activity, which is the cancer cell, and emotional coping patterns in breast cancer. It concluded that suppression of anger and a passive, stoic response that I must tolerate everything seemed to be associated with a higher biological risk to cancer. And this repression of anger towards what's happening to you and allowing it to happen increase the risk for cancer. And that's why, and people are not able to recognize this in their lives and assert themselves when they do see a violation, then they are likely to experience repeatedly the damage that's caused by the stress, and that stress creates more susceptibility to cancer. And, the stress that you're feeling in your body right now is a physiological response to a perceived threat, physical or emotional, whether or not the individual is immediately aware of the perception. That's what the study said, right? So the conclusion is that cancer is also with this repressed anger towards all of these difficult situations, and I'm not saying go scream at those people. When I say repressed anger, it's about recognizing your anger, and the anger is pointing to a discomfort, and that discomfort is telling you that this is something, you're in a situation that is threatening your safety, emotional and physical, and you need to do something about it. And that's what the repression of anger is, what I'm talking about. Now, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, is also a lot of repressed anger, a lot of repressed sadness that can cause that arthritis. And the nature of stress is not the usual stuff that people think about, right? It's not the external stress of war or money loss or somebody dying. Yes, that stress is there, but, it's actually the day-to-day internal stress of having to adjust with oneself, with somebody else, and what to speak, of is trying to adjust yourself with a narcissist, right? That's terrible. And whether it's cancer, whether it's ALS, whether it's MS, or it's rheumatoid arthritis, and all these other conditions, they happen to those people who are in those narcissistic abusive relationships, but they also, even before they got into that relationship, there was something in their life that has caused them to have a very poor sense of self in themselves, poor sense of self-respect, poor sense of self-love as independent persons. They're not able to stand separately as independent persons. And I've seen that in all of my clients, where the main difficulty was to be able to stand independently as an emotionally independent person. And for many, many compassionate reasons, with my full empathy for them, but that's what we help them strengthen, is to increase their ability to be emotionally independent through, healing all of these things, through healing those patterns and working on them and becoming, stable and strong and secure within. And when there is enough self-love, and I have self-love flashcards for that, I also have a self-love bracelet for that, if you want to start your journey there with us. When you love yourself and you honor yourself so nicely, and I'm not talking about selfishness, etc. I'm talking about truly honoring yourself in a spiritual way, you are quick to sense violations to your person, emotional, physical, spiritual violations to your person, and you have a quicker response to protecting yourself. But when we don't honor ourselves as persons, when we don't have that agency, we don't have that self-partnering, and we don't have that emotional independence, we don't recognize all of these things. And even if it does create anger inside, we keep repressing it and we allow it to happen. Yes? So there are many tools available for you. As I talked about it, we have the 7 chakra bracelet, we have the self-love bracelet, we have the spiritual self-love flashcards you could get. And, and more. Like, let's talk about what are the other steps you can do, because all of these things are good. And they're good starting points, but they're not the complete solution. Now, people can be very accomplished externally. I have clients who are, CEOs of big companies, vice presidents, doing really great in their business, etc., right? Or intellectually, they may be really good. They may be great at the arts. But on an emotional level, many of the people have a poorly differentiated sense of self. And then we end up living in reaction to what's happening to us without ever really sensing who I am, and, what do I want in life and what do I want to do? And we become so used to so used to abandoning ourselves because we feel that if we stand up for ourselves and if we assert ourselves, or if we stand separately, independently, we will be in the spotlight and we're going to attract more trouble. There are many reasons for not, allowing yourselves to stand independently. And because of that, you end up paying the price either way. If you stand independently, self-partnered, self-loving, and self-strong, you are going to maybe attract their wrath, but at least you will have protected your mind, your health, and your own future, and your own goals, and lived a life of healing, growth, and contribution. But when you don't do that, then you sacrifice in other ways. So there's a price to pay other ways. Now, what can you do about it? What you need to do about it is you want to work on your patterns of guilt. You want to work on your inner child healing. You want to work on becoming a differentiated, sense of self, independent sense of self for yourself, healing that repressed anger in the body, healing that lack of agency that you have, the lack of, a lot of times we act from the child space in a lot of things, and we need to start moving towards adulthood. And there may be many compassionate reasons and many real reasons about why you were not able to do so, and you have my full empathy for that. But I'm giving you the steps of what you need to do. So please don't feel offended as I share all of these things. I hold you in great love. I hold you in great compassion. But yes, this is what needs to be done. Finally, we have our best interests at heart, and nobody's going to come and pick us up. We have to pick ourselves up. And that's the path I'm showing you. And you also need to work on your unrealistic self-sacrificing behaviors, where you have to learn how to balance your social interest with your self-interest, and not in a hedonistic whereabout where you become completely selfish. That's going to cause diseases too. I've seen that. But in a way in which where you honor yourself and you honor others, right? And work on the lack of psychological independence, work on that overwhelming need of love and affection from the outside to fill you up. But no, you are love yourself. You are a beautiful soul, part and parcel of the Lord. The Lord loves you unconditionally, and you have the capacity to be your partner, be yourself, be with you, honor your needs and feelings, be with yourself and your aspirations and hopes and everything. And work on your inability to feel your repressed anger and to express it. And by expressing it, I'm not saying scream at somebody else. I'm saying let the anger energy be channeled into, working on all of these things, and also in setting boundaries with people. A lot of people ask me that, I need to learn how to set boundaries. And I'm like, I cannot teach you how to set boundaries because no matter what formula I give you, unless you have done all this inner work, you're never going to be successful in setting boundaries, right? You have to work on these aspects of your mindset. And then when you have worked on these aspects of your mindset, and when I say self-love, it's a very broad term, and it means working on your self-sacrificing behaviors. It means working on your guilt. It means working on the becoming a differentiated self, yourself, right? It means all of those things. And unless you've done all that, there's no way to set boundaries, because when you've done all that, then when you honor yourself, you will naturally set boundaries, and sometimes even without saying anything, you will be able to set boundaries. Yes. So one of the ways to do this is to join the Heal Strong program for narcissistic abuse recovery. Doing this on your own is hard. If a spider is stuck in a web, it needs someone from the outside to pull the spider out from the web. If there's another spider stuck in the web, they're both going to try to help each other out, and they're going to entangle themselves. Or if the spider is going to try to come out, they're going to further entangle themselves on the web because they don't have the resources and the agency. But I welcome you to join the Heal Strong program, to have a complete recovery at all these 5 levels that I've talked about: your physical level, energetic level, your mental, logical level, your intellectual level, emotional level, and your spiritual level. And unless you work on these 5 levels, it's hard to have something solid and to work on yourself. Yes. Now you could start with the worksheet, the free worksheet. It's linked below. You could start with the starter pack, also linked below, the Heal Strong starter pack. But I would really recommend for people to start with the advanced pack with one-on-one coaching included. to take that option, because that really helps accelerate your journey. These health issues are not worth it. It's just not, I'm not even talking about the money expenditure here. Of course, the program is much cheaper than all of these health issues, but it's about the loss of life, the loss of your body, the loss of your life, the loss of your aspirations, the loss of the purpose for which you have been brought into this world, and how God wants to see you flourish and God wants to see you grow. So I look forward to seeing you inside. Please don't treat yourself, please treat yourself with love and value yourself, else you will cause irreversible damage to yourself, your dreams, and your aspirations. And I would like for you to become healed and whole again, and wish you all the very best.